Son, your monkey wife won't let us in. We've been standing outside with our things for 3 hours, shouted the mother-in-law, who had decided to show up unannounced with my sister-in-law to move into my house. My husband ran to help his mom, but in the end, he couldn't get inside either, and his things flew out the window. Before we start, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and enjoy listening. Kristina climbed the stairs to her apartment on the 4th floor feeling deeply satisfied. The 3 days in Kaliningrad had flown by. Her presentation of the elite restaurant design project was a huge success. The client not only accepted all her proposals, but even doubled the budget. Clients like that were rare, and Kristina was already thinking about how to spend the unexpected income. The key turned in the lock as usual, but as soon as she stepped inside, she felt that something was wrong. There was a strange smell in the hallway, a mix of cheap women's perfume and some kind of food. On the floor lay slippers she had never seen before, a worn pink pair with pom-poms and some brown men's slippers. Kristina frowned. Artem was supposed to be home alone. She had called him last night, and he hadn't mentioned any guests. But when she walked into the living room, she froze. Her pristine white sofa was covered with strange pillows in bright pillowcases. The coffee table was cluttered with women's magazines and packs of tea she had never bought. On the floor near the TV sat a baby stroller, and near the balcony door, women's underwear was drying on a portable rack. "Artem," she called, but there was no answer. Kristina went into the kitchen and nearly fell. Her perfectly organized space had turned into chaos. The countertops were covered with jars of homemade preserves. Pots with leftover food sat on the stove, and the fridge was decorated with children's drawings on magnets. Dirty dishes piled high in the sink. "What the hell is going on?" she muttered, pulling out her phone. Artem didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "Hi, honey. How was your trip?" His voice sounded tense. "Artem, what's going on at home?" "It's a total mess." "Oh, wait. I think you wanted to tell me, but I was so busy with the project." Mom and Olga had come to stay for a few days. They were having housing problems at their place. Kristina gripped her phone tighter. "Wait, you let them move in without asking me?" "I thought you wouldn't mind." "Their family," came Artem's calm reply. "Where are you now?" "At work. Meeting until 8. We'll talk tonight." "Fine," she said, tossing the phone onto the counter and heading toward the bedroom. The door was slightly open, and she saw a woman in her 30s in a bathrobe rummaging through her dresser. On the bed next to her sat a boy of about 10, playing on a tablet. "Excuse me, who are you?" Kristina asked coldly. The woman turned around. She had a full face with sharp features and cold eyes. "You're here?" "I'm Olga, Artem's sister. This is my son, Danila." She kept rifling through the drawers. "I'm just looking for where you keep your towels. We have plenty at home, but you only have 2 for 4 people. Not very convenient." Kristina felt her anger rising but held it back. "This is my bedroom and my dresser. The towels are in the bathroom cabinet," she said. "Oh, don't get so worked up. We're living together now. We have to share." Olga finally closed the drawer. "Actually, I thought we could divide the rooms a bit differently. There are only 2 bedrooms, and there are a lot of us. Maybe you and Artem could move to the kids' room, and Mom and I will stay here." "The kids' room?" Kristina repeated, confused. "We don't have one?" "Well, that room over there, where you have all your papers laid out. Mom's already started cleaning it. Perfect for the kids." Kristina's heart raced. That room was her office, where she created all her projects. It had drafting tables, a computer with professional programs, and shelves full of material samples. Without a word, she dashed out of the bedroom and ran to her office. What she saw made her grab the doorframe for support. The room was unrecognizable. Her drafting tables had been pushed against the wall, replaced by a crib. The shelves with catalogs and materials were emptied, their contents strewn in boxes on the floor. Children's drawings hung on the walls. In the corner, a woman of about 60 with short gray hair sat on a stool, studying a folder of design projects. "Hello," Kristina said, barely keeping her voice steady. "You must be Valentina Petrovna?" "Yes, I'm Artem's mother, the woman said, standing and sizing Kristina up. You had it so pretty here, but this will be more useful. My granddaughter Masha is coming today. She's very active. The living room is dangerous for her, but this room is just cozy. Kristina went to the boxes and saw expensive Italian furniture catalogs, fabric samples from top European brands, and her diplomas and awards that used to hang on the walls. Where are my drawings? Where are my projects? She demanded, rifling through the boxes. Oh, that junk? We thought it was just trash. Olga already took some of it to the garbage bins, Valentina said casually. She said the space had to be cleared. Kristina jumped to the window and looked down into the yard. Near the trash bins, there were indeed piles of papers. Among them, she spotted a blue folder, her country house project she had been working on for the last 2 months. Without a word, she ran out of the apartment and raced down the stairs. In the yard by the trash, she fell to her knees and frantically went through the papers. The house project was ruined. The night rain had smudged the ink, and some sheets were already torn. Next to them were her framed diplomas, photos of completed projects, and folders with drawings. Oh my God, she whispered, clutching what she could save. When she went back upstairs, she found both women sitting in the kitchen, drinking tea. Valentina Petrovna, she began, trying to keep calm. You threw away my work documents. They included projects worth hundreds of thousands of rubles. Oh, what are you talking about? Her mother-in-law waved her off. Hundreds of thousands? Those were just some drawings. This is my work. I'm an interior designer. I have my own studio. Oh, so you just draw, Valentina Petrovna said condescendingly. We thought you were just doodling out of boredom. Artem said you worked in a library. I worked in a library 5 years ago when we first met. For the past 3 years, I've had my own business. Oh, come on, Olga interrupted. Don't get upset over some papers. The important thing is Masha will be safe. You can always draw somewhere else. Kristina felt herself about to explode. Instead of arguing further, she went into the bedroom and locked the door. Her hands shook as she dialed Artem's number. Your mother threw away my work projects, she said without greeting him. They were worth hundreds of thousands of rubles, and your sister turned my office into a kid's room. Kristina calmed down. It's probably a misunderstanding, Artem said. A misunderstanding? Artem, they've been living here for a week. A week? And you didn't say a word to me. I thought it would be temporary. Mom said 3 or 4 days at most. Why are they even here? Don't they have their own place? Artem was silent for a moment. They're having problems. They sold their apartment and they can't buy a new one. Temporary difficulties. What difficulties? Speak clearly. The realtor tricked them, took their money for an apartment, and disappeared. Mom filed a police report, but it hasn't helped yet. The money is gone. They can't buy a new place. Kristina sank onto the bed. So that's it. It's not just a few days. How much money did they lose? 3 million rubles. Mom sold a 3-room apartment on Voikovskaya and wanted to buy a 2-room in a new building closer to the center. They were supposed to find one for Olga too. 3 million, Kristina whispered. That's not money you find lying around. And how long do they plan to stay with us? Well, until they figure things out. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, until the case is resolved or they find another option. Artem, are you serious? A year? We have a 2-room apartment. 5 people won't fit here. We'll manage somehow. Mom will sleep in the living room on the sofa. Olga and the kids in the office, the kids' room, and we'll stay in the bedroom. We'll squeeze a little. And where will I work? Where's my workspace? You'll find somewhere. You can rent a small office. Kristina realized her husband didn't even grasp the scale of what was happening. Artem, come home. We need to talk seriously now. I can't, I'm in a meeting. I said now. Either your family packs their things and leaves today or... Kristina, don't make a scene. This is my mother and sister. They're in trouble, and we have to help. Help? Yes. But not by turning our home into a shared apartment. And definitely not without my consent. Listen, Let's discuss this calmly tonight. I know you're tired from the trip. It's not about being tired. You made a decision about my life without me. Don't shout, please. People will hear. Kristina threw the phone onto the bed and buried her face in her hands. Voices and a crying child could be heard outside the door. Someone had turned the TV up to full volume. The apartment that had been her quiet, cozy home just that morning was now chaos. Half an hour later, she came out of the bedroom. In the kitchen, Valentina Petrovna was at the stove, while Olga fed a 1-year-old girl in a high chair they had clearly brought with them. And the daughter-in-law? Kristina asked silently. My borscht, her mother-in-law said, turning around. Artem loves my borscht. You probably can't cook properly. Young people eat out in cafes these days. I can cook, Kristina said dryly. Sure. Then why is the fridge empty? Just yogurts and salads. A man needs meat to grow strong bones. Kristina went to the fridge and saw that her groceries were gone. Instead, there were pots of soup, jars of pickles, and several kilograms of meat. Where are my groceries? What did you have there? Olga asked, wiping the child's mouth. We did a deep clean yesterday and threw away everything that was spoiled. Spoiled? Everything I had was fresh. Sure, that moldy cheese, some suspicious eggs, and limp vegetables. Olga listed. Mom says, cleanliness is the key to health. Kristina realized they were talking about expensive French mold cheeses, quail eggs, and fresh vegetables for salad. Those were delicacies worth thousands of rubles, she said slowly. Delicacies? Valentina Petrovna snorted. You're rich, spending money on fancy food, but you can't even help your husband's family? Help? How am I supposed to help? Well, the apartment is big enough for everyone. And when we sort things out, we'll make sure to thank you, Olga said. Valentina Petrovna, this apartment is mine. I bought it with my own money. How is it yours? Her mother-in-law asked, surprised. You and Artem are married, so everything is shared, Valentina Petrovna said. We got married after I bought it. The apartment is in my name, Kristina replied. Valentina Petrovna exchanged a meaningful look with her daughter. We'll see about that, she muttered. Everything in a marriage is shared. That's the law. At that moment, the door slammed open, and Artem entered. He looked tired and disheveled. Hi everyone, he said uncertainly. How are you, Artem? Valentina Petrovna rushed to her son. Finally. Things were crazy here. Your wife caused a scene, saying we should leave. Mom, we'll talk later, Artem said, moving toward Kristina. Honey, let's go to the bedroom. Why the bedroom? Olga interjected. We're family. We don't keep secrets from each other. Olga, please, Artem said, taking his wife's hand. He closed the bedroom door and hugged her. Forgive me. I know I was wrong not to tell you, but they're really in a desperate situation. Artem, they threw away my work projects worth hundreds of thousands of rubles. They turned my office into a kid's room, threw out my food, and now plan to live here for a year. A year? Artem asked, surprised. Where did you get that? I told you on the phone, just until things are sorted. Well, I meant temporarily. Temporarily? How long? A month. 2, 6 months. I don't know how long it will take. Kristina stepped back from him. Listen carefully. I understand your family is in a difficult situation. I'm willing to help them find a rental. I can even pay the first few months. But they will not live in my apartment. Why? There's enough space. No, there isn't. We have a 2-room apartment. There are 4 of them. Where will I work? Where will we live as a family? Where will our children sleep when they come? We'll manage somehow. I don't want to manage somehow. This is my home, and I have the right to decide who lives here. Kristina, be reasonable. This is my mother. She raised me alone after my father died. She gave me everything. And Olga was left with 2 kids after a divorce. They have no one but me. And who do you have? Artem asked quietly. Of course, I have you. You're my wife. Then why doesn't my opinion matter? Why do you make decisions about my life without me? Artem rubbed his face. I thought you'd understand. We're family. Family is you and me. They're your relatives. Even hospitality has its limits. So, you want to throw my mother and her little kids out on the street? I want them to find their own place. A week is enough to find a rental. With what money? They don't have any. Then they can ask social services, other relatives, take a loan, anything. What loan? Mom is retired, and Olga doesn't earn much. Kristina took a deep breath.
Fine.
I'll give them a week to find a place. If they're still here after a week, I'll find a way to evict them myself. A week is too little, Artem said. Either a week or I file for divorce. There's no third option. Divorce? Artem turned pale. Not because of them, but because my husband ignores my interests and lets strangers run my home. Strangers, that's how I see them. And judging by their behavior, I'm a stranger to them too. From the other room came a child's cry and Valentina Petrovna's voice. Artemushka, come here. Masha fell and hurt herself. Artem rushed to her, and Kristina stayed in the middle of the bedroom, clenching her fists. She knew this was just the beginning. If she didn't set strict boundaries now, in a year nothing of her old life would remain. Stepping out of the bedroom, she saw the family scene. Artem holding the crying little girl, Valentina Petrovna fussing, and Olga running with a wet towel. The 10-year-old boy sat calmly on the couch, watching cartoons as if nothing had happened. She needs to see a doctor, the mother-in-law fretted. She just tripped. It's only a small bruise, Artem said to calm her. No, she must see a doctor. She's my only granddaughter. Kristina approached her husband. Artem, remember this number, she said, taking her car keys and leaving the apartment. She needed fresh air and time to think, and to see if anything could be saved from the papers they had thrown away. In the yard, she checked the trash again. She managed to recover a few photos of completed projects and her diploma. The rest was hopelessly ruined. Sitting in her car, she took out her phone and called her friend Ludmila. Luda, I have a problem. A big problem. What happened? Artem moved his mother and sister with 2 kids into our apartment. Without asking me. And they don't plan to leave. Seriously? For a long time, maybe a year or more. They lost their home. So I set an ultimatum. 1 week to find another place. And what does Artem say? He thinks I should accommodate his family. Maybe you could tolerate it for a month? Luda suggested. A month? Luda, they destroyed my office and threw away work projects worth hundreds of thousands. They expect me to run another office while I squeeze into a room with my husband, and strangers take over my apartment. Kristina returned home 2 hours later. The apartment was noisy, the TV was on, someone was cooking in the kitchen, and the kids were running around the hallway. Her home had turned into a busy thoroughfare. Artem was sitting in the living room, reading something on his tablet. So, have you thought about it? He asked without looking up. Yes, Kristina thought. They had 1 week. Be realistic, Kristina. They won't find anything in a week. They will if they really try. If not, that's not my problem, she replied silently. Valentina Petrovna peeked out from the kitchen. What are you whispering about? Artemushka, come eat. I made your favorite cutlets. Mom, we'll be right there, Artem said. Valentina Petrovna stepped closer. Kristinaka, you're smart. Understand this. We didn't move in with you for fun. Help your husband's family. Don't be selfish. Valentina Petrovna, I'm not selfish, but I'm not stupid either. You can rent an apartment. Rent? With what money? We have none. Pension and child benefits. You can find a small apartment on the outskirts. About 15,000 rubles. 15,000? The mother-in-law gasped. That's my whole pension. How will we live? Work, Kristina said calmly. Olga is young and healthy. She can find a job. Easy for you to say. She has 2 kids. Who will take care of them? Kindergarten, school, a nanny, and a nanny costs money too. Then you should have thought about that before selling your apartment to shady people, Kristina said. Valentina Petrovna turned red. How dare you? We were cheated, and you're blaming us. I'm not blaming anyone, Kristina said. But your problems shouldn't become mine. Artem, the mother-in-law called. Are you listening to your wife? Artem got up. Mom, let's have dinner. Kristina and I will talk later. No talking about anything, Kristina said firmly.
Fine.
I have nothing more to add, she said. Olga appeared in the doorway with the child in her arms. Do you really want to throw us out with little kids? I want you to find your own place, Kristina said. And if we can't, you will if you try. And if we don't, Olga repeated. Then I'll call the management company and the police. Moving into someone else's apartment without permission is illegal. What moving in without permission? Valentina Petrovna protested. Artem invited us. Artem had no right to invite anyone without the owner's consent, Kristina said coldly. And the owner is you? Why are you talking about the owner all the time? Valentina Petrovna snapped. Your husband and wife. Everything's shared. Not everything. This apartment is my personal property, bought before the marriage. Valentina Petrovna squinted slyly. Well, we'll see about that. I know the law. In a marriage, all property becomes joint. Valentina Petrovna, you don't know the law very well. Property bought before marriage stays personal. Oh, yes, her mother-in-law waved her hand. We'll see who's really in charge here. For now, we're not going anywhere. Kristina turned to her husband. Artem, I'm saying this one last time. 1 week. If they're still here after a week, I'll start the divorce process. Kristina, don't take such extreme measures. This isn't extreme. It's protecting my rights and my home. She went to the bedroom and locked the door. Voices were raised outside, but she tried not to listen. She opened her laptop and began researching how to evict people who move in without permission. What she read didn't make her feel better. The process was long and complicated. An hour later, there was a knock at the door. Kristina, it's me, Artem's tired voice said. Can we talk? She opened the door. Her husband looked confused and worn out. Did they go to sleep? She asked. Yes. Listen, I understand you're upset. I'm not upset. I'm furious, and I'm completely serious. But maybe we can find a compromise. What compromise? They turned my apartment into a shared space, destroyed my workspace, and have no plans to leave. What compromise is there? Well, maybe they could pay for utilities. Artem, it's not about money. I don't want to live in a shared apartment. I have a right to personal space. But it's my family. And what about me? Am I not family? Kristina sat on the bed. Tell me honestly, who's more important to you, me or your mother? That's not a fair question. You can ask that. Yes, you can and you must. Right now, you have to choose. I don't want to choose between the people I love most. Then you'll lose one of them, me. Artem sat next to his wife. Kristina, can't we just tolerate this for a while? A month or 2, until they find another solution. And after a month, they'll find new reasons to stay. Olga's kids will go to school here. Your mother will say she's used to the local doctors. This will never end. Do you think they're deliberately dragging it out? I think it's very convenient for them. A 2-room apartment in a nice area for free, instead of renting a small place on the outskirts with their own money. But they really have no money. Your mother has a pension and Olga has her hands and her brain. Anyone can work. Olga says it's hard with 2 kids, but millions of women work with children and manage just fine. Artem was silent for a moment. What if I help them with money? Pay for a rental, he suggested. With what money? We have a mortgage and a car loan. Well, somehow, he shrugged. Artem, I don't want us to go into debt for your family. We have our own life, our own plans. What plans? Like kids, for example? Or did you forget we talked about this? I didn't forget, but now is not the time. Why not? I'm 32, you're 34. When will it be the right time? When the situation stabilizes. Kristina realized her husband was willing to put their own plans on hold for the convenience of his relatives. Listen carefully, she said slowly. Tomorrow morning, you tell your family they have exactly 1 week to find their own place. If they don't, I will file for divorce. You won't do it. I will. And more than that, I'll take them to court if I have to make them leave. Kristina, that's enough. Think about it. Artem left the bedroom, and Kristina lay down, but sleep didn't come. Through the wall, she could hear quiet voices. Her husband was talking to his mother and sister. Then there was silence. In the morning, she woke to the smell of fried potatoes and the sounds of activity in the kitchen. Looking at the clock, it was already 8 a.m. Normally, she would be calmly having breakfast and planning her workday. Now her home felt like an anthill. In the hallway, she bumped into Olga, who was dragging a pile of wet laundry from the bathroom. Good morning, Olga muttered without stopping. Good morning. Where's the drying rack? Kristina asked. On the balcony. More space. Kristina went to the balcony and saw that it was completely covered with children's tights, shirts, and women's underwear. Her own drying rack was shoved into the corner. In the kitchen, Valentina Petrovna was running things. The stove had 3 pans on it. The sink was piled high with dishes. Finally awake, the mother-in-law said. We've already had breakfast. I left a little potato for you. Thanks, I'll make my own, Kristina said, opening the fridge. There's nothing left. We ate everything. And no one can go to the store. Artem went to work, and it's hard for us with the kids. Kristina looked inside the fridge. Almost all the food was gone. Valentina Petrovna, who's going to buy groceries?
Kristina asked.
How will we manage? We don't have money right now, so I guess it'll be you, the mother-in-law replied. But we all eat together. That's fair, right? It would be fair if you also contributed to the costs. Contribute? We're only staying temporarily. She waved her hand. Later, when we sort out the apartment, we'll repay you, of course. When will you sort it out?
Kristina asked.
Well, who knows? Maybe 6 months, maybe a year. It's serious. Kristina poured herself some tea from a nearly empty kettle. What about that week Artem mentioned? She asked. What week? Valentina Petrovna was surprised. He was supposed to tell you that you have a week to find a place to live, Kristina said. But he just mumbled something about deadlines. Men never really know what they want. Kristina realized Artem hadn't clearly told his family anything. Then I'll say it myself. You have exactly 1 week to find a place and move out, Kristina declared. Are you crazy? Valentina Petrovna slammed a pan on the table so hard that oil spilled everywhere. What week? We told you. We have nowhere to go. That's not my problem, Kristina said firmly. Not your problem? You're Artem's wife. His family is your family now.
No.
My family is Artem and me. You're his relatives, Kristina replied. What do you think of yourself? The mother-in-law snapped. Artem and I have lived together all our lives, and you've only been here 3 years. This apartment has been mine for 5 years. Nothing here is yours. Since you're married, everything is joint property, Valentina Petrovna argued. At that moment, Olga entered the kitchen, holding her youngest daughter. Mom, what's happening? Are you shouting? She asked. Your sister-in-law is trying to kick us out. She says we have a week to leave, Valentina Petrovna explained. Olga looked at Kristina in shock. Seriously? Where are we supposed to go with the kids? That's your problem, Kristina said calmly. You're adults. You need to solve your own life issues. We're family, yes, but family helps family, not fully support them. Help, yes, but not provide everything, Kristina added. There's a difference. What do you mean, not provide everything? Valentina Petrovna snapped. We're not freeloaders. We help around the house, cook, clean. You're eating my food, using my utilities, taking over my workspace, and throwing away my documents. How is that helping?
Kristina said.
Our documents we didn't know, Olga mumbled. We didn't know they were important. Couldn't you have asked? Kristina shot back. Who should we ask? You weren't home. Artem? Or just not touch anything without permission. Valentina Petrovna sat at the table, taking a handkerchief from her pocket. Oh my, to think that your own son's wife would kick him out with his little kids. Aren't you ashamed? I'm not ashamed of standing up for my rights, Kristina said firmly. Rights? The mother-in-law sniffled. Your house is big. There's enough space for everyone. And what about us? Are we homeless dogs? You have hands, legs, a head. You can work and rent a place, Kristina said calmly. Easy for you to say. And where am I, an old woman, supposed to work? There are plenty of jobs online for retirees. Concierge, caregiver, nanny. How dare you? I've worked as an accountant my whole life, and you want me to be a nanny? I'm just saying you can earn a living instead of being a burden on others, Kristina replied. Olga shook her head. I thought you were normal, but you're cruel and selfish. Maybe, but I'm honest, Kristina muttered. 1 week. That's my final decision, she added. Kristina finished her tea and started getting ready for work. She had a meeting with potential clients and needed to prepare a presentation. Now, she would have to do it in a cafe or in her car. At home, there was no workspace left. She grabbed her laptop bag and headed for the door. In the hallway, Valentina Petrovna stopped her. Kristinaka, let's talk one more time, like human beings. It's already been said. 1 week. That's enough. But a week is so short, at least a month, the mother-in-law pleaded. 1 week. You will manage if you really want to. And if not, Kristina stopped and looked her mother-in-law in the eyes. Then I'll go to court and call the police. Believe me, they'll make you leave faster and in a way you won't like. You won't dare. I will. This is my home, and I won't tolerate anyone taking control without my permission. With that, Kristina left the apartment. As she went down the stairs, she heard loud voices and a child crying behind her, but she didn't look back. The war had begun, and she had no intention of backing down. 3 days passed since the ultimatum, and Artem's relatives acted as if the deadline didn't exist. In fact, they were getting even more comfortable in her home. Valentina Petrovna brought some old furniture from somewhere, a big dresser she put in the hallway, a few boxes of dishes, and an old TV for the kids' room. Kristina noticed it on the morning of the 4th day, barely squeezing through the kitchen corridor. Valentina Petrovna, what's all this furniture? She asked, pointing at the dresser that almost blocked the passage. These are my things, her mother-in-law said innocently. I thought they might be useful. Your place was too empty. Kind of lonely, you know. I like it cozy. Where did you get all this?
Kristina asked.
Oh, a friend of mine had it at her summer house. I brought it yesterday in a truck. A kind woman, not like some people, Valentina Petrovna said proudly. Kristina finally squeezed into the kitchen, where Olga was feeding the kids porridge from new plates with bright pictures. Olga, what's with these plates?
Kristina asked.
Bought them for the kids yesterday. What's wrong with that? Your white plates are too slippery for them, Olga replied. Where did you get the money?
Kristina asked sharply.
Artem gave it, Olga muttered without looking up. Kristina felt anger boiling up inside her again. Her husband was giving money to his relatives to set up in her apartment, all while telling her to be patient with their presents. Olga, remember, you only have 4 days left, Kristina reminded her. Yes, we know. Olga waved her hand. We're looking. And what have you found? Nothing suitable yet. Either too expensive, or the area is bad, or they won't take kids. What do you consider suitable? Well, a 3-room apartment in a good area, maximum 20,000 rubles, Olga said confidently. Kristina almost choked on her tea. A 3-room apartment in a decent area cost at least 40,000 a month. Olga, for 20,000 you can only rent a single room in a shared apartment, Kristina said firmly. See? Olga said triumphantly. Nothing suitable, so we'll just stay with you longer. At that moment, the intercom buzzed. Valentina Petrovna hurried to answer. Yes, it's me. Come up. Apartment 43. Who is it?
Kristina asked.
Oh, just an acquaintance business, Valentina Petrovna said vaguely. A few minutes later, someone rang the doorbell. Valentina Petrovna opened the door and let in a man in his 50s carrying a briefcase. Come in, she fussed. Kristina, this is Mikhail Borisovich, a lawyer. We consult with him on my matter. What matter? Kristina asked, suspicious. Oh, just a housing issue, Valentina Petrovna said vaguely. Please have a seat in the living room, Mikhail Borisovich, she added. Kristina followed. The lawyer sat on the sofa, took out a notebook and pen. So, Valentina Petrovna, please tell me more about the situation, he said in a businesslike tone. Well, we've been living here for over a week. I cook, clean, look after the grandchildren. My daughter helps with the household too, and the daughter-in-law says we have to leave, Valentina Petrovna explained. I see. And what does your son say?
Artem.
He's on our side, of course. He understands we have nowhere to go, but his wife is putting pressure on him, Valentina Petrovna said. Kristina couldn't take it anymore. Excuse me, but what is going on here? Why is there some kind of legal consultation happening in my apartment? She asked sharply. Mikhail Borisovich, the lawyer, looked at her over his glasses. You must be Kristina? Valentina Petrovna was telling me about you. You see, he continued, there are certain nuances in family law. What nuances? Kristina asked, feeling a chill run down her spine. Well, for example, if family members contribute work and money to setting up a home, they can claim a share of ownership, the lawyer explained seriously. Kristina's blood ran cold. This is called acquiring property rights through long-term contribution and family input, he added. If your mother-in-law can prove she improved the living conditions, spent money on repairs, and helped run the household. She's been living here for a week. What contribution? Kristina interrupted, standing up. And if you count buying furniture, dishes, and food? Valentina Petrovna asked smugly. Stop. Stop, Kristina said, pointing at her mother-in-law. Valentina Petrovna, explain immediately what is going on. Why are you getting so upset? Valentina Petrovna waved her hands. We're just consulting. We have the right to know our rights. What rights? Over my apartment. Kristina asked, incredulous. Why only yours? Olga chimed in as she entered the living room. We live here, we're setting things up. Mom spent money on groceries and brought furniture. Where did you get the money? You don't have any. A little bit, Valentina Petrovna said with a sly smile. Kristina realized they were trying to trick her. Mikhail Borisovich, she said firmly to the lawyer, please explain, can someone who has lived in another person's apartment for just a week claim a share of ownership? Theoretically, under certain circumstances, the lawyer began. Kristina cut him off. Practically speaking, if the apartment was bought by me before marriage, registered in my name, and I didn't give permission for these people to move in. The lawyer adjusted his glasses nervously. In that case, it's very unlikely. Exactly, Kristina said, turning to her mother-in-law. Valentina Petrovna, you are committing outright fraud. You're trying to claim someone else's apartment. What fraud? Her mother-in-law protested. We're really living here and really helping out. Helping us? Kristina snapped. You threw away my documents, ate my food, and took over my workspace. Mr. Mikhail Borisovich, Valentina Petrovna turned to the lawyer. See how she treats us? Can this be considered psychological pressure? That's enough, Kristina said sharply. Mikhail Borisovich, I ask you to leave my apartment. The consultation isn't over yet. We haven't discussed everything. The lawyer tried to protest. There's nothing left to discuss. Leave. The lawyer quickly packed up and left. Valentina Petrovna followed him to the door, whispering something under her breath. Happy now? She asked when she returned to the living room. He wanted to help figure out the situation, and you kicked him out. That person wanted to help you steal my apartment. Kristina shot back. What are you saying? Steal? Her mother-in-law protested. We're family. No, we're not family. And you have 3 days left, Kristina said. Kristina went to work, completely ready for a fight. She planned to have a serious talk with Artem in the evening, but that didn't happen. When she got home around 7, she ran into her neighbor, Marina Viktorovna, from the apartment across the hall. The woman looked clearly upset. Kristina, finally. I need to talk to you, she said. What happened?
Kristina asked.
It's about your relative. She caused such a scandal this morning. I almost got late to work. What relative? What scandal? It's your husband's sister, Olga, I think. She was banging on our door early in the morning, telling us to keep our child quiet, our little Max. But he doesn't cry at night. Not at night, 7 o'clock in the morning. My 3-year-old son was just playing quietly in his room. And she said, I am the owner of this apartment and demand silence. My children are sleeping. Kristina froze. The owner of my apartment?
Yes.
And when I said you were the owner, she replied that you're just a tenant now. The real owners are them. What?
Yes.
She said she lives here all the time with her kids and mother, and you only stay here sometimes. She has another place. She's only temporarily registered here. Kristina felt her head spinning with anger. Marina Viktorovna, that's a complete lie. I've lived in this apartment for 5 years. It's my property, and these people only showed up a week ago. I thought so, the neighbor said, but she spoke so confidently. And then she even said that if we make noise, she'll call the local officer. The officer? Yes, for your child playing in their own apartment in the morning. And do you know what else? She asked for the entrance key and said she would be watching over the building. She claims she's the boss now and will kick out anyone who isn't family. Kristina put her hand to her forehead. Olga hadn't just moved in. She had declared herself the ruler of the house. Sorry to bother you, Kristina told the neighbor. Tomorrow everything will be sorted. Then she asked, what's really going on?
Who are these people?
Relatives of your husband, the neighbor replied. But tomorrow they won't be here, Kristina said, and went straight into the apartment. She headed to Olga, who was sitting in the living room painting her nails. Olga, explain to me why you're lying to the neighbors and saying you're the owner of this apartment. Why am I not? Olga said boldly, without looking up from her manicure. You live here illegally and only temporarily, Kristina snapped. Oh, come on. What difference does it make what we tell the neighbors? It makes them feel better to know there are permanent residents who keep things in order. Keep things in order? You told them not to make noise in their own apartment. Well, their child stomps around at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it bothers my children's sleep. Your children have no right to dictate anyone else's schedule, Kristina said. They do. I told them so, Olga said. Valentina Petrovna came out of the kitchen. Kristina, why are you starting another fight? Olga did the right thing. From the beginning, we need to show the neighbors who's in charge. I'm the owner here,
Kristina said.
Sure, smirked Valentina Petrovna. And who cooks, cleans, and watches the kids? Who takes care of the house? You just sleep here and go to work. We live here to take care of it because it's my apartment and I pay for it, Valentina Petrovna added. At that moment, Artem came in. He looked tired and confused. Hey, he muttered. What's going on here now? Ask your relatives, Kristina said. They've already declared themselves the owners of this house and are telling the neighbors to be quiet. Mom, is this true? Artem asked. What's the big deal? Valentina Petrovna waved him off. Olga just asked the neighbors to be quieter because the kids are sleeping. She said you are just a tenant and we are the real owners. Artem rubbed his face with his hands. Olga, why did you say that? He asked. What, is it not true? Snapped his sister. We live here all the time, setting things up, and she only comes to sleep. Olga, this isn't your apartment, Kristina said.
Whose is it then?
Yours. So mine too. We're brother and sister, Olga replied. Kristina realized that her husband's family had completely lost touch with reality. Artem, I need to talk to you, she said. Let's talk here, he suggested. Family matters should be discussed with everyone together.
Fine.
Then explain to the whole family. Your relatives have only 2 days to move out. Stop saying that. Valentina Petrovna exploded. We've told you 100 times. We have nowhere to go. I've told you 100 times. Those aren't my problems, Kristina shot back. Artem's mother turned to him. Tell her finally that we are your family and have the right to live in your house. My house, Mom? Not mine. What's the difference? You're married, aren't you? Artem stayed quiet for a moment, then sighed heavily. Listen, Kristina, maybe we shouldn't rush so much, he said. Give them a little more time. How much? A month? 2. Yes, until they find something suitable. Artem, we've already discussed this. The answer is no. But they are really looking, he protested. They want a 3-room apartment for $20,000. That's not searching, that's daydreaming. Maybe we can help them with money, Artem said.
Money?
Where would we get an extra $30,000 a month? Kristina asked, incredulous. Artem shifted nervously. Well, there's another option. I talked to the bank. We could take a loan using the apartment as collateral. Kristina felt the ground fall out beneath her. Use my apartment as collateral? Yes, a small loan, $1,300. That's enough for Mom's down payment on a new place. The rest she'll cover with a mortgage. Artem, are you out of your mind? You want to risk my apartment for your relatives? Not risk, just take a loan. I'll pay it myself. With what money? You earn $40,000 a month. I'll find a side job, he said confidently. Kristina realized her husband had completely lost touch with reality. And if you can't pay, what happens to the apartment? I'll manage.
Somehow.
Somehow, he repeated unconvincingly. Kristina mimicked him in disbelief. Somehow. If you fail, the bank will take my home. They won't. I've calculated everything. Show me your calculations. Well, I have them roughly in my head, he said. Valentina Petrovna smiled proudly, watching the scene. See, Kristinaka? Your husband is so caring. He wouldn't leave his own mother in trouble. Artem, Kristina said slowly, have you already submitted the loan application? No, I just consulted, he answered. Did you submit it or not?
Kristina asked.
I submitted a preliminary application, yes. But nothing is finalized yet. And you listed the collateral? Yes, the apartment, Artem admitted. My apartment, which belongs only to me, Kristina said, feeling her legs give out. What's the problem? We're married, Artem said. The bank will accept it, he added. So let me get this straight, Kristina said, sitting on the couch. You applied for a $300,000 loan using my apartment as collateral without asking me first? I said, I only consulted, Artem mumbled. Artem, yes or no? Yes, he whispered. And when were you planning to tell me? When the loan is approved? I want to talk to you first after I submitted it. Well, yes. Kristina got up and went to the bedroom. She grabbed her phone and started looking for a locksmith. Enough. She wasn't going to tolerate this abuse anymore. Hello, I need to change the locks, she said. Can it be done tonight? Perfect. Here's the address. Within half an hour, a locksmith arrived with his tools. Artem's relatives watched him with confusion. Kristina, what is this? Artem asked. It means I'm changing the locks. Tomorrow morning, your relatives will leave my apartment. Leave? And our things? And the kids? Valentina Petrovna protested. Take your things and the kids and go wherever you want. You won't be coming back, Kristina said firmly. You don't have the right. Olga screamed. I do. I'm the owner. Artem, Valentina Petrovna begged. Say something to her. Kristina, let's talk calmly. Artem tried. It's too late to talk. The decision is made. The locksmith finished and handed Kristina 2 new keys. The old locks no longer worked. After he left, the apartment was silent. Valentina Petrovna sat on the couch, quietly crying. Olga ran around packing the children's things. Artem stood in the hallway, looking lost. Kristina, you're serious? He finally asked. Absolutely. By 9 a.m. tomorrow, they need to be gone. And if they don't leave, I'll call the police. Kristina, that's it, Artem. The discussion is over. War has begun. The next morning, Kristina woke up to silence. For the first time in 2 weeks, the apartment was calm. No pots banging, no loud TV, no running in the hallway. Artem's relatives had left late last night, slamming doors and muttering curses. Artem spent the night on the couch in the living room and left for work in the morning without saying a word to his wife. Kristina was enjoying the quiet, sipping coffee in her kitchen and planning her workday. She had no idea this calm was just the calm before a storm. At 1 p.m., while working at home on a new project, the doorbell rang. Then it rang again and again. Someone was pressing the buzzer insistently. Who is it? Kristina asked into the intercom. It's us. Open up, right now, came the familiar voice of Valentina Petrovna. Valentina Petrovna, we already settled everything yesterday. You're not supposed to be here anymore. Open the door, I'm telling you, she shouted. Our keys don't work because I changed the locks, Kristina said. How dare you? This is my son's house. This is my apartment, and you will not be coming in, Kristina replied firmly. We came to get our things. You took everything yesterday, Kristina said. Not everything. There's still a lot left, Valentina Petrovna shouted. Kristina didn't answer and turned off the intercom. But a few minutes later, there was a knock at the apartment door. Apparently, someone let them into the building. Open up. Valentina Petrovna screamed. We know you're home. Kristina looked through the peephole and saw not only her mother-in-law, her sister-in-law, and the children, but also several suitcases. They clearly planned to come back. Valentina Petrovna, I will not open the door. Leave, Kristina said firmly. We are not leaving. This is our home, her mother-in-law yelled. You've been living here for 2 weeks. You lived here, yes. But now you're gone, Kristina said. No, we're still living here. I have documents, Valentina Petrovna shouted. What documents?
Kristina asked.
You'll see, Valentina Petrovna said. Open the door, or we'll break it down ourselves. Kristina pulled out her phone and started filming. Then she called Artem. Your family came back with suitcases and is demanding to get in, she said. Kristina, at least let them take their things, Artem said. They already took their things yesterday. Today they came with all their stuff to live here again. I can send you the video. They claim they have some documents for the apartment. What documents? From where? That's what I want to find out. But I'm not opening the door yet. Noise continued on the other side. Valentina Petrovna shouted something at Olga, and Olga yelled back. The children were crying. Half an hour later, Kristina heard male voices. Looking through the peephole, she saw 2 strangers with tools on the landing. Valentina Petrovna, who are these people? She asked. Locksmiths. We're opening the lock, she answered. By what right? By the owner's right. I have a power of attorney. What power of attorney? From Artem. He gave me the right to handle the apartment. Kristina felt her blood run cold. Could Artem really have signed such a paper? Show me the document, she demanded. If you open the door, I'll show you, Valentina Petrovna said.
No.
Show it first. She whispered something to one of the locksmiths, then held a folded sheet of paper to the peephole. Kristina could see an official-looking document with stamps, but couldn't read it. Let me study the document, she said. No need to study. Open the door, Valentina Petrovna said. Everything is legal. Start working, Valentina Petrovna ordered the locksmiths. They got to work. Kristina realized she had to act fast. She called the police. Hello, police? Someone is trying to break into my apartment. Yes, I'm the owner. Please come quickly. They've already started breaking the lock. Then she called Artem. Artem, did you sign a power of attorney giving your mother control over my apartment? What power of attorney? No, of course not. But she says she has it and brought locksmiths to break the lock. I haven't signed any power of attorney. Then come immediately and bring documents proving there isn't one. The drill continued outside. The locksmiths worked fast. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived at the landing. Kristina looked through the peephole and saw one of them talking to Valentina Petrovna. Open the door. We need to check the situation, the officer said. How do I know you're really police?
Kristina asked.
Here's my badge. The officer pressed it to the peephole. Kristina opened the door slightly, using the chain. Hello, I called the police. These people are trying to break into my apartment illegally, she said. This woman claims she has the right to be here, the officer said, nodding toward Valentina Petrovna. Those documents are fake, Kristina shouted. What fake documents? Her mother-in-law protested. This power of attorney from your son, Valentina Petrovna said, handing the officer a paper. The officer examined it carefully. Power of attorney from Artem Belisov to manage this apartment notarized, he read aloud. That's a fake, Kristina said. My husband never signed any power of attorney. Where is your husband? Let him explain himself, the officer asked. He's coming now. Let's wait, Kristina said. The police stopped the locksmiths. Everyone waited on the landing for Artem. Half an hour later, he arrived, out of breath and confused. What's going on here? He asked. Artem, please look at this, said the officer, handing him the document. Artem studied it carefully. This is not my signature, he finally said. How not your signature? You gave it to me yourself. Valentina Petrovna shouted. Mom, I didn't sign any power of attorney. And that's not my signature. This document is fake, the police officer confirmed. Ma'am, this is a serious crime, he added. What are you saying? Valentina Petrovna went pale. Maybe he forgot or signed it without thinking, she stammered. I know my own signature, Artem said firmly. I did not sign this document. Then who did? Asked the police officer. I don't know, but it wasn't me. The officer turned to Valentina Petrovna. Ma'am, where did you get this document? Well, from a notary, she mumbled. Which notary? What's the name of the office? I don't remember. Some place on Tverskaya. This document is fake, the police officer concluded. You'll need to come with us for questioning, he added. What? Screamed Valentina Petrovna. Son, tell them, she started. Mom, I can't say anything. You got yourself into this, Artem replied. At that moment, Kristina's phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello, Kristina Belasova? This is Trust Capital Bank. We have questions about a loan application. What application? I didn't apply for any loans. The application is from your husband, Artem Belasov, using your apartment as collateral. We need your written consent as the owner. And what if I don't give consent? Then the loan won't be approved.
Fine.
No consent. Understood. But be aware, if the application was partially approved, a freeze may be placed on your property until the matter is resolved. What do you mean, a freeze? It's a temporary restriction. You can't sell or do anything with the property. Kristina felt her blood run cold. So, I won't be able to sell my apartment?
Correct.
Until the freeze is lifted. You'll need to go to court or pay off the loan to lift it. Kristina hung up and turned to her husband. Artem, the bank just called. You didn't just apply for a loan, you partially completed it. Now my apartment is frozen. What? Artem went pale. So, I can't sell it or do anything with it? I said I was just consulting, he stammered. Consulting? And who signed the documents?
Kristina asked.
Well, maybe I signed something, but they told me it was just preliminary. Preliminary? Kristina shouted. Because of your preliminary, my apartment is frozen. The police watched the family scene with interest. Let's first deal with the fake documents, one officer said. Other issues will be handled in court. Valentina Petrovna was taken to the police station. Olga left with the kids, following her mother and dragging suitcases. The locksmiths packed up their tools and left too. Kristina and Artem were alone. So, how do we live now? She asked. We'll figure it out somehow, he said. Somehow? That's your favorite word. Meanwhile, my apartment is frozen. Your mother is in trouble for forging documents, and we're left with debts. Kristina, I didn't mean for this to happen. It doesn't matter what you meant. What matters is what you did. Artem lowered his head. What now? He asked. Now I'm filing for divorce, Kristina said calmly. And for your eviction from my apartment, she added. Divorce? Are you serious? Absolutely serious. You betrayed me, Artem. You put your family's interests above your wife's, and you tried to control my property without my permission. But I just wanted to help our family, he said. Help your family at the expense of mine. At my expense. Kristina, let's try to fix this. It's too late. The decision is made. She walked to the bedroom and began packing his things. Artem followed her. Where am I supposed to go? To my mother's? To my sister's? Rent a place, she said. Not my problem, Kristina. Everything's been said. She opened the window and started throwing his clothes out into the yard. What are you doing? Artem shouted. Helping you pack, Kristina said calmly, tossing his shirts out the window. Stop immediately, Or what? You'll call the locksmiths and make another fake document. Artem tried to grab his clothes, but Kristina was faster. Half of his wardrobe was already on the ground outside. That's it. Pack up and leave, she said, closing the window. What about the keys? He asked. What keys? You have no rights to this apartment. We're married. For now, yes, but tomorrow I'm filing for divorce. Artem packed the rest of his things into a bag. Kristina, I know I did wrong, he said. Wrong? No, disgusting. Betrayal. Give me a chance to fix it. You had your chance for 2 weeks. You spent it trying to steal my apartment. Not steal, just held my family at your expense, without your permission.
That's called stealing, she said.
Artem sighed heavily and walked to the door. What about love? He asked, looking back. And what about respect?
Kristina shot back.
What about trust? Basic honesty? I loved you, I loved this apartment, and you used me. That's not true. Then why didn't you ever support me against your family? Why were you always on their side? They are your family, but I was what? A stranger? Less important. That's what I was. Exactly. Less important, he admitted. Artem lingered at the door for a moment, then left. Kristina locked the door behind him, every lock engaged. Finally, the apartment was silent. True silence. No shouting, no arguments, no strangers' voices. Kristina sat on the sofa and took a deep breath. 2 hours later, the phone rang. It was Artem. Kristina, Mom called from the station. They let her go on her own recognizance. She wants to talk to you. To apologize? Too late. They admit they were wrong. Where are they now? Renting a small room in a hotel with their last money.
Good.
Now they know what independent life costs. And you think I should give them a chance?
No.
They're in this mess by their own doing. What about humanity? What about my rights, my dignity, my property? Artem was silent.
Fine.
But what about the loan? The apartment's freeze? I'll deal with it through the courts. Slow and expensive, but legal. Do you want me to help? Pay the fines. You don't have that kind of money. I'll borrow. I need it. I can handle it myself.
How?
Artem asked. I'll sell my share of the business. Pay off all the debts and lift the freeze on the apartment. Then I'll live peacefully. Alone, without parasites and freeloaders. Kristina, goodbye, Artem. She hung up and turned off her phone. That evening, Kristina stood on the balcony with a cup of tea, looking at the city. Below, the janitor was sweeping up Artem's discarded clothes. Tomorrow, she would file for divorce. In 2 weeks, she would clear the apartment from the bank freeze. In a month, the divorce would be final. Yes, she would have to sell part of her business to solve the financial mess her husband had created. Yes, she would be alone, but she would live in her own home, on her own terms, with people who respected her. And most importantly, she would never let anyone boss her around again. Lesson learned. Boundaries set. War won. Her phone buzzed with a message. It was Ludmila. How are things? Did it get sorted? Yes, Kristina replied. It's all sorted. Filing for divorce tomorrow. Good for you. Invite me to your housewarming in a month. Kristina smiled. Yes, there would be a housewarming in the same apartment, but in a new life, a life without compromises on conscience or dignity. Far away, in a hotel, Valentina Petrovna and Olga counted their last money, planning how to survive tomorrow. Somewhere, Artem slept on a friend's couch, thinking about the mess he had caused. Kristina fell asleep in her own bed, in her own apartment, listening to the sounds of the night city. Tomorrow, a new life would begin. Difficult, maybe. Lonely, maybe. But honest. And that was what mattered. The next morning, the phone rang. A familiar voice shouted, "Your crazy wife won't let us in. We've been standing at the door with our things for 3 hours." It was her mother-in-law, who had decided to move in with Olga without asking. Her husband ran to help his mother, but in the end, he couldn't get inside either, and his things had been thrown out the window. Kristina just laughed and hung up. The war was over, and the winner was the one who wasn't afraid to fight for her right to live her own life.